Okay, I am going to do a couple of things. We're starting a few minutes early, and I am going live on all my platforms for the first time. So bear with me. Yay. Okay, this is exciting. So today is my birthday. You can see from behind me, there's some fun things. And so we're starting just a few minutes early. I'm going to just talk a little bit and wait for everyone to join in. Yeah, I've got some beautiful flowers here for my birthday. Thank you, thank you, thank you for my beloveds. It's such a beautiful day. It's actually really cloudy. It's like I could wear a snowsuit out there. Southern California, June gloom is what we call it, is such a fascinating thing. And even with all the clouds, it is a beautiful day. Now, I thought I'd do something a little different because it's my birthday. I absolutely adore these cards. I have no affiliation to them whatsoever, but they're Starseed cards. And since we're starting just a little early, I'm going to shuffle and I'm going to pull a card. And I'm going to pull a card specific for my birthday, but for everyone else and what we need to know as a collective, right? So it's not just about my birthday. And I'm going to shuffle these as I talk a little bit. By the end of the show, I will read you the cards. So I'll keep you in suspense. I like to shuffle and then just whichever one falls out, then I'll read that at the end. We've got a lot of great questions today, actually, some really deep questions today. And so I'm excited to see what comes through. As you may know, I wear this beautiful crystal crown now. And you may be asking, why? Why are you wearing a crown? And I like to talk about it from more the spiritual consciousness sense of the crown chakra and really connecting in because the show is called Awaken Inner Wisdom. Why? Because we go deep inside and we actually speak from our conscious subconscious mind. Hold on one second, because I just dropped two of the cards. Let's see if I can use my tomosis. My best friend would actually know exactly what I'm talking about when I say tomosis. I'm going to pick them up off the floor with my toes. More information than you need to know. But it's my birthday, so anything goes, right? All right, I've got like two really great cards here, but as I said, I'm not going to read them until the end. So please bear with me. Ooh, thank you for the happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you. I love that you're on with me live. If anyone has any questions and you're on live, please put them in the comments. And if you're watching this on replay, you can also submit a question on the comments, but you can put them on bethbell.me/question. I love getting your questions. It's so much fun each week. So let's jump in and see exactly what we've got going on here. All right. So I might need my glasses today. Question number 1. What is the quickest, best tip to reground and get centered if you're pulled back into 3D? Now, there's a couple of things that come to mind. And I feel like maybe there's an explanation that needs to come through about 3D. But let me say this first, that right now there's so much happening. There's so much energy, and 3D meaning like in this reality, like this deeper, lower vibrational reality. And it doesn't mean that it's bad when I say lower. It doesn't mean that it's dark when I say lower. It just means that it's vibrating at a level that we can actually see and feel things. And it can also feel bad, and it can feel sort of, like we're walking through quicksand, especially when things get chaotic. Maybe that was a Freudian slip in a good way, right? That we need to get creative when it gets really chaotic. But the best thing you can do when you're starting to feel like you're losing ground is to breathe. And I know that sounds so basic, but you really need to just sit. And I feel like this has come up several times now, but it's like connecting, sit somewhere, especially if you can sit somewhere. This might sound weird, but like hard, meaning like a chair, because when you can feel your sit bones and you can like put your conscious energy, like you're breathing in deeply, and then just anchor in the energy into your sit bones, like where you can actually feel your sit bones. If you can't feel your sit bones, it's fine. Just imagine that you can, and imagine that you're anchoring into the core of the earth. I know all of you have probably learned somewhere along the line in school about the earth and the core of the earth, and just go all the way there. Anchor into that spot, and then just keep breathing. Get just like and it calms your nervous system, but it also brings you back to presence within your body, right? Because a lot of times what's happening is it's our mind that is spinning because our external world is feeling very chaotic. A lot of things is coming at us and coming at us and coming at us. And when we take that deep breath in and we just ground ourselves, as basic as it sounds, it is the most magnificent thing that you can do in that moment. Now, assuming you're not driving, another way to ground yourself is to just go somewhere where you're reducing your external environment. So you're reducing some of the stimuli. Maybe it means that you go sit on the grass somewhere in a park. Even if you're in a busy day, like maybe you just literally walk out of the office, you go down somewhere and you just sit in a park. If it feels weird to sit on the grass, and sit on a park bench, but just sit somewhere. Tune in to a bird, tune into a flower, look at a flower and start realizing the energy that's emanating from that flower and the connection that that flower has to source. And when you sit in that quietness, then I would recommend that you envision having this ball of light. And if you can close your eyes, even better. If you can't for whatever reason, that's fine too. Just envision this ball of light and start to envision a column of light as though you are being enveloped by this beautiful energy. And when you do this simple exercise, and you literally can do it anywhere. I know sometimes in the beginning it feels weird because it feels like, oh gosh, is everybody looking at me? And that is really the point, is it does not matter who's looking at you. It does not matter what the external world is reflecting to you, because you are in charge of your inner peace. And that's where we awaken our inner wisdom, is in that really peaceful place when we quiet the mind and we just go inward and we just get really simple with our breath and our body and feeling in. And it's a practice. It doesn't always happen immediately, where the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keeps our hearts and minds open and just envelops us. It can and it will, but we're quieting the mind. So that is what I would say, if you're really feeling like you're spinning in the 3D world, that you just go deep within, take that breath, follow the breath in, and stay grounded in that moment. And I know the next moment you might have to walk out and get bombarded by everything else that's happening. But if you take the moments, the more moments you take, the more pauses you make in your life, the more you'll be automatically doing this as things come your way. All right, let's see. Here are some other questions. I'm just coming through a big transition and clearing all that no longer serves me, including people and energy. I've been practicing cutting cords for a while, and I'm clear how to do that for people. I no longer want in my life, but what are your thoughts on cutting cords with those I still love and want in my life, but no longer desire the energy attachments that are holding me back? What are your thoughts and recommendations? Thank you. Thank you for asking the question. First of all, I'm not a big fan, and this is semantics, but it's not. I'm not a big fan of cutting cords. What I mean by that is that when we cut a cord, it means that there's still an innate energy within us. And so I know that you may or may not have meant that literally cutting cords, but I like to go deeply into that energy center. And sometimes we have to do a full body scan. And again, sometimes these things take practice, but feel in to that person that you're thinking, yeah, I really want to move and shift the energy around this person, because it's all coming from your mind, but you're most likely storing something in one of your chakras about that person. So if it's your heart center, or maybe it's your solar plexus, it's someone that helps you feel safe. And you're like, but I need to feel safe on my own without relying on this person to give me that feeling of safety. So if that's the case, I would go right into the third chakra. I'd feel right in, and I'm putting my hands, you can't see it, but I'm putting my hands right on my third chakra. And I'm just feeling that area of my body. And as I feel deeply into that area of my body, I would think about that person, and I would think about, and again, wherever the chakra is, and I would start thinking about that person, and I would think about all the elements of emotions and feelings that come to me when I think about them. And then in a very loving, kind way, this isn't like a, oh, I want to get rid of them. It's like, no, I want to cherish and honor them for allowing me to feel this safety within myself, knowing that it is a projection that I have put onto them that they are making me feel this way. No, they are a reflector for you to feel that way. And then when you start to really go into it and go, ooh, that's actually me feeling that way. And then you go, let me go deeper into that chord, and that the chord being the idea, the string, the tether that goes to that person. And very lovingly think about, maybe I just want to twist that out as though you're like screwing the cord out, right? And think of it very lovingly. Like, I think sometimes we get all like, oh, I got to cut the cords. I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, like I do it myself, like, oh, I want to cut that cord. I got to get that person out of here. And start twisting the cord out, screwing the cord out, thanking them for the feeling that they have provided for you. And then realize that it's within me. And I want to hold that energy for myself sacred within me. And I'm asking them to not be that reflector for me anymore, because for whatever reason, that person's not serving that role anymore for you. And it's a gift. It's a gift of knowing more about who you are, because that's the whole point of relationships, whether they're lovers or brothers or sisters or a friend or even a stranger. Sometimes we get this reflector and we're like, thank you for allowing me to feel something within myself that I wasn't feeling on my own. And so when we really dig deep into the gratitude of that person and we eloquently release them through really taking the cord out, unplugging the cord as opposed to cutting the cord. Because if we cut the cord, like the core is still there and we haven't really honored that part. And I can really feel that in my third chakra. So maybe that is where it is for you. And just wanting to be in that safety space and knowing that safety is within you, because your higher self is here to provide that safety. And when we get to that place, and I know you're actually already there, it's just like recognizing it to another level. When we get to that safety place within us, anything's possible. It really doesn't matter who comes and goes in our life. We just are grateful for whoever's there, reflecting our own safety and beauty that we have and carry within ourselves. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. If since you're on live with me, if there's something more on that, I am more than happy to go deeper into that. So, okay. So let's go on to the next question. This one is, how do you know the difference between crying because you are a victim versus being self-absorbed? Yeah, that's a good one. And it's a good one because I think the number one thing that comes to mind to say is, don't judge what it is. I like that you are, and I'll explain that. Crying is a release. So let's just honor the release. Let's honor releasing the energy is a beautiful thing. Let's go right there and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you for letting me cry. Do you know how many people there are in the world that can't cry? I think my mother would be okay if I exposed her on this, but my mom is a dear heart. She's been a nurse all of her life. She's an angel. She's been through so many things and seen so many things, sat with dying patients, had tragedy in her own life. And yet there's an element of her that just doesn't cry. It's very rare. I think I've seen her cry maybe 3 times in her entire life. And it's not that she doesn't have a feeling. She just isn't able to release that. So first of all, be really grateful that you have that ability to release, because releasing is so important. Because if we don't actually have the physical release, whether it's a cry or a shake or a screaming or anger or some release of the emotion, we're just trying to control it. We're just trying to manipulate it. So whether you're a victim or you're self-absorbed, I don't know. I like that you're asking that, because it means that you're not wanting to be, more in like the narcissist tendency. And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, that would be like the full spectrum of self-absorbed. And you're also not wanting to like see yourself as a victim, which is nice because then you know that you're the creator of your life. But I don't know how important it is to really determine that. I think what's important is to get to the crying part, to get to the emotion part. Like, what is creating the crying without judgment? Without judgment, because I think it's actually self-centered is what you want to be doing. Not self-absorbed and not being a victim, but you want to be that like deeply self-centered person that's in there saying, yeah, I'm feeling this. I don't like that I'm feeling this. I mean, a lot of times I think we feel that way. Like, I don't like that I'm crying because it feels like it's out of control, or it feels like, like, why am I crying, or why should I be crying? And if you can get past all of those judgments, because that's the mind trying to say, something about your own self-worth or your own whatever, and just get into it, get deeply into the tears and let the tears roll. Let the tears roll violently if they need to. I don't know why I said violently. It just came to me, meaning like dramatically, right? The more dramatic you can be sometimes, but then there's that fine line of like, okay, am I just like really out of control because I need attention, which I don't think is the case. And sometimes we do need attention, and that's still okay. But it's like, at what point then do we say, okay, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to sit with this and I'm going to own the emotion that I'm experiencing because I want to release whatever that is and I want to get to the core of it. And then once you get to a place where you're kind of like, you've let some of the shedding go, then I'm a big proponent of journaling. I'm a big proponent of quieting the mind. And sometimes that's hard to do, right, when we're really emotional. So that's why journaling and getting the hand coordination to the actual journal, I think, creates an energy and an intention. It creates an intention that I really want to get to this. So I would start to journal and I would start to really feel into that. And then rest, just rest. I can't tell you how many times that I've been on a call with someone who's crying and upset, and we walk through it, and then all of a sudden it's like this, oh, let me just collect myself and act like nothing's wrong. Thank you, thank you. Okay, everything's great, right? It's such an innate response to want to pull ourselves together so quickly and be like, oh no, I'm okay. You're not okay, and it's okay to not be okay because that's where the juicy stuff is. So then rest. Get a good meditation, get something that inspires you, something that makes you feel like you can surrender into the not knowingness, the not knowing, because that's the mind that wants to know everything. So when we get into the space of the peace of not knowing and being okay with the not knowing, that's when we're really inviting our higher self to come in and support us. Instead of looking to someone else outside of us, a situation outside of us, a job, a relationship, a friendship, all of those things can come in and support us for sure. And they will, and they should to some degree. I don't like the word should, but when we're looking for them, sometimes that's the time when we need to release them. We need to release the ideas that someone's coming to save us or that somebody needs to come and save us, because we're already saved. It's our sovereign self that we're begging to be in touch with. We're begging to come to. I mean, look, if you're watching this show, I know that you're on the awakening journey and you're deeply immersed in this. So I can say that to you, that you are searching for that soul sovereignty, that connection, that straight up North Star feeling to our higher self and to the light and to the love that lies deeply within each one of us. It's never gone. It's just a perception that somehow we're separate from it. Okay, let's see. There are a few more live questions I'm going to jump in on. What does it mean to feel numb? Anger, sadness, anxiety. I understand, but why numb? Is numbness healthy or tuned out? Thanks for an explanation. Numbness is so confusing to me. Numbness, it's a great question, and it's disassociation. It's like shock. When something really major happens to us and we go into shock, it's like our system says, I can't handle all this. Like our nervous system says, I don't know what to do with this. And so we go into shock. Like I'm using maybe a more dramatic example. I know you're not exactly saying this, but then we become numb, right? We literally kind of freeze and go, I'm not going to feel this. And there may be times when that is okay. And maybe the word healthy isn't the exact word to use, but healthy from the standpoint that maybe you need to get yourself into a different space, a different place. Like maybe, having a complete utter breakdown in the middle of Times Square isn't the place or the space. And so your body, your spirit may be using some discernment to give you that numbness as though you were in shock, so that you can get to that safe space where you can have the breakdown, where you can have the feeling. Keep in mind, I know you know this, but we get programmed from a young age, most of us, you know, don't cry, get up, get moving. And we don't acknowledge sometimes, because we want our kids to be like, yeah, suck it up and keep moving. Or, and sometimes it's not that dramatic, but it's like, pull it together. We want everybody to move through it much faster. I mean, how many times have we seen a parent say, oh, honey, cry it out? Yeah, just cry it out. And so we get programmed as a society. It's not about just the parental responsibilities, but it's, we go to school and the teachers say X, Y, or Z. We go to church and there's a program about moving through things quickly. And sometimes it's not about quickly. Sometimes the wounds that happen to us that appear to be like, oh, this happened right now, and it's like a trigger, but it's set up for you potentially from lifetimes. It's something that could be ancestral coming down the line. So I'm just saying that even though things happen to us and they feel like it's an immediate thing right now, sometimes there is a huge, long lineage of pain that is associated with it, and it doesn't always resolve overnight or in that moment. So numbness, yeah, I can feel, and I'm assuming that we're talking about numbness, just like naturally, that we're feeling numb to something, and that's a disassociation. That's a fight or flight. I need to save myself from having a complete breakdown. And I think there's times when that's good. Now, if we're talking about numbness, which I'm not picking this up here, if we're talking about numbness where we go to drugs, alcohol, things that, completely shift our state, then that's a whole nother thing. And that often happens, is that when we don't have the coping mechanisms, and again, I know I'm going off of this question because vibrationally I'm not feeling this, but it feels relevant to bring in this topic of numbness, that a lot of times when people don't want to feel the pain of something, drugs and alcohol, movies, and again, there's nothing bad with movies. There's nothing bad with alcohol per se. It's how we use it and how much we use it. Sometimes, yeah, we just need to have a good time. And there's nothing wrong with having a drink. There's nothing wrong. It's a spirit, right? Alcohol is called spirits for a reason. But when we rely on those things as state shifters, that's where things start to go awry for us, because then we're not using our innate skill set, our innate toolbox to help us, like get back to that. Yes, I'm focused, I'm grounded, I am here on my true north. So hopefully that's helpful on the numbness. Great. Thank you. This helps tremendously. Great. That's wonderful. I love to hear that. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. And again, I love the live questions, so please keep them coming. And I've got a lot of pre-submitted questions too. Do you think men and women can be friends and still exchange sexual energy? If yes, is that harmful to the friendship or other people they may be dating? So this is, I think a lot of times what happens is we get confused about the chakras. So we have all these chakras in our body, right? And we can share energy if we're with someone who's done the work and is open in their chakras, and that includes the second chakra. The second chakra is our creative center. It's our sexual center. It's, our first chakra is more our safety center, our survival. And so when we're with people who we have this type of relationship with, where we can openly share in a very high vibrational sense, meaning there isn't a lot of thought constructs built around it, but we're just in the purity of the energy, I think this is totally fine. I think we can clear all the chakras. I think we can help each other experience the clearing of all the chakras, and we can help each other spin all of our chakras open. For example, I went for a massage the other day, and a beautiful therapist, and she checks all my chakras. First of all, I was face down, so it was all the chakras on the back side, and then all the chakras on the front side. So I allowed her and wanted her to go into my system and say, yeah, let's tune in to each chakra and feel where we're at. So that doesn't mean that it's a sexual, no, of course not. It means that she was in my energy and feeling my energy and helping me through massage. Luckily, I was actually really open. I was super happy. I felt that way going in, but I still wanted her to check, because sometimes we have these little blocks and we don't know. And so I do think that we can be in communion with others in a really incredible way. Again, both people have to be in a place where there is a level of purity. Where it can go sideways is when the mind comes in, and when the sexual energy, not just the second chakra creative energy, but the sexual energy that's natural and that is reproductive, right? It's very primal in humans. When that starts to mix, we know when that happens. We have that feeling. If you don't know, pay attention closer. It's that moment where you go, oh, something shifted here. And that's where I think you have to really have the discernment and say, okay, I'm feeling that. I'm going to stop that. And I don't mean like block, bad. No, I just mean that, okay, I'm acknowledging that there's something a little more happening here. And maybe that means that you separate so that you're not exploring that sexual energy. Because if the other person is in a relationship, then I think that it's helpful to honor that. It's my personal feeling. Other people have different feelings about that. They are okay with sharing sexual energy with multiple people at the same time. My personal feeling and belief on that is that I like to keep that clean and clear. And I think it's, again, depending upon where you're at in your relationship with, I know here, especially in Southern California, there's a lot of polyamorous people that have a different lens around this. And so each to their own, there's lessons to be learned from that. But I feel very strongly about monogamy when it comes to sexual energy. And I do think that we can share second chakra energy along with first and third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh and beyond with others in a very safe, sacred space, if both people are coming to the table with that intention. So I think it's a very beautiful experience, and one that I think a lot of people don't actually get to experience with others, because it does require some personal work and a place within yourself that you really understand your own energy systems. But it's super fun when you do. Okay, let's see here. Oh, thank you for the happy birthday greetings. Yes, it's so much fun. I can't believe I'm happy that my show fell on my birthday. I haven't always been a big birthday celebrator, but I'm really changing that and loving honoring our birthday. I think having every day be like our birthday is really where we want to be. And yet there's just something fun and special about just saying, it's the day that I came onto planet Earth, and I'm just going to do whatever makes me happy. Some days we don't always get that freedom, but if we get into the mindset of, finding happiness within every little thing, that is the goal. Okay. Let's see here. We've got a bunch of other questions, and I love to hear anything live. All right. Back to the questions. Ooh, my baby is due to be born in a few days. I'm a strong masculine and she is feminine. Any advice on the best way to support her coming into this world? I'm assuming that you're suggesting that your baby is a girl, and that's why you're suggesting feminine. She is feminine. And I would just say maybe step away from the idea about anatomy and feminine and masculine energy. I think the best thing you could do for your child is to show up in your masculine and your feminine. Because for each one of us, irregardless of our genetics, no, genitalia, maybe I should say that, um, we are being asked to balance the masculine feminine within. In fact, I think that's a big reason why we're seeing a lot of youth today come in. A lot of people say, oh, they're just confused. And I'm like, I don't know that they're that confused. I think they're trying to show us another way. I think they're actually here to help catapult us out of these illusions about men and women, right? We went through this whole long period of time, many, many years of the masculine being very dominant. Now we've swayed over to like the feminine wanting to be more dominant and the feminine being more in their masculine, but maybe not being really in their own balance of their feminine. And then men are confused, like not even knowing what to do with women because they're like, I don't know, is chivalry dead or not? And so I think that what we're facing right now is a crisis around masculine, feminine energy balance, not so much a crisis about our sexual orientation or our physical identity that we have with our human anatomy. I think it's a beautiful time. I think we really need to honor this more and more and more. So I would suggest, with that beautiful little baby coming onto the planet, that you really just focus on you, your feminine. How can you show up in your feminine? Learn new ways of showing up in the feminine and showing up in the masculine, and perhaps asking your partner, your wife, to do the same, right? That it's not just about, yes, of course, she's always going to be the mom and she's going to do the mom things, but there's a flexing that happens. And so the more we can demonstrate this for the young people, I think we're going to find that there's such a beautiful, beautiful shift in humanity about how we show up in the workplace, how we show up in relationships, and just how we show up in general. All right. I love that question, and a really unique one too. So thank you for asking that one. All right, let's go to the next one. Sorry, somehow I bumped my questions and I'm on the wrong week. Okay, let's see. I feel like I'm in a very dark place emotionally. Nobody would be able to guess. Nobody would be able to guess really, but how do I shake this? Nothing has really changed, and there isn't significant reason for me to feel this way. What can I do to shake it? I feel like I need an emotional reset. A couple of things there. Nobody would be able to guess really. I think that's your first clue. I'm not saying that you walk around with your heart on your sleeve every moment of every day, but it means that you're disassociating with these emotions because you don't want people to know. And when we do that, we aren't allowing the support and the love that we need as humans to move through some of the most devastating situations and circumstances in our life. Nothing has really changed, and there isn't significant reason for me to feel this way. I totally get that that's what you're thinking and feeling in your conscious mind. I would suggest that there is something so much deeper in the subconscious mind. And like, I get the imagery of you just sort of like floating along, like you're intentionally wanting to tiptoe above the fray of the reality of your life. Like I get this image of you ignoring something and many things perhaps. And so there is something that's changed. I would say that what's changed is that you are awakening more and more and more. And that's a huge change, because with that comes new ideas. With that comes different feelings, different emotions. And yeah, feel into what is it that has changed for you? What is it that you don't want to see? What is it that you don't want to feel? What is it that you don't want to show to somebody else? The most vulnerable thing we can do is to get in touch with how we feel and allow someone else to experience that with us. Now, granted, sometimes we do have to use our discernment. Not everyone deserves to see us in our most vulnerable place. So there is some discernment there. But if you're using too much control about who, when you know you're with someone that's safe, just think about that a little bit more. Actually, the right words maybe are more about feel into that. Feel into your heart center. What is it that's stopping you? And I guarantee you that it's the mind. It's always the mind trying to manipulate the situation, trying to, yeah, be in control. Like, who wants to look like they're not happy? And what if we just practiced like a little baby would? When a baby's not happy, they cry about it. And they allow someone to dote on them. They don't have a choice, right? But somebody has to come and feed them. Somebody has to come and change their diaper. I'm not saying we're getting back to that. I'm just saying that we're incorporating an element of allowing others to support us in a way that's not needy, but that's vulnerable. That's like, hey, I could really use a hug right now. I could really use like someone to just cook me breakfast right now. I could really use someone to just talk to right now. All of that is like those vulnerable spaces and places. Hey, I could just use someone to listen to me cry right now. That all of us, and again, some discernment on who that might be, because not everybody's got the capabilities to really hold the space for you if you need to cry or you need to let yourself go. But if you don't know who that is and you're like, I don't have anybody, or I don't know who it is, sit with yourself in quiet meditation and ask source, whatever source is to you, if it's God, if it's a Buddha, if it's Krishna or Allah or whatever your source intelligence name is, the universe, sit with it and say, show me the way, shine the light for me, and bring me the people, the places, the things that I need to move to the next, not even the next level, but just the next moment. You know, sometimes we just need to go to the next moment, not to a month from now or a week from now or a year from now. Sometimes we just need, just show me for the next moment. Who knows? Maybe the phone rings or maybe nothing happens and maybe the peace of God just flows right through you. You know, maybe just asking for the mind to quiet is the thing that we need the most. And it doesn't involve anybody else or anything else. All right, stick to it. I know there's a lot happening right now. The dark night of the soul is, I want to say, haunting a lot of people right now. But it doesn't have to be haunting. You know, it doesn't have to be. I think when we step through the idea that the not knowing is scary, because that's the haunting part, and we step into it with more childlike curiosity, and we step through the illusions of all of the societal constructs about money, about success, about love, about relationship, all of those things, when we just like let that stuff fall away, it is hard. I'm not saying it's like easy, just like boom overnight, like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Because I'm not saying things don't matter. I'm just saying the weight that our mind puts onto these things. I just think there's a lot of burning off right now of these social mental constructs, these ideas. And as they burn, it sucks. But when they're burned off and we start to get the reprieves, it's like, oh, thank you. And then maybe it comes in a wave and the next day it comes back. So sometimes it's not always sustainable, but you're making progress, and pride yourself in that progress. I feel that for you. I feel like there is a lot of progress happening in the burn, and being okay with the burn, the burn being the burning off of these ideas from your mental psyche. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. If not, again, I love to hear in the comments. Let's go on to the next question. I just watched the movie The Matrix last night. It's so old and yet feels so relevant to today in many ways. Do you think we are living in an alternate reality? I don't know about the word alternate reality. Like I just, as I sit here, I go, yeah, there is a simulated reality. There is, everything is a reflection, and it's not to make light of it or to say that it doesn't matter. It's to say that, when you take, what was it, the blue pill or the red pill, you could choose to stay in your current reality, or you could choose to awaken and expand your consciousness. And so everything that's happened in the last several years has provided us with the most amazing opportunity. As shitty as it has felt sometimes, we have the most amazing opportunity to awaken and to say, I am not going to just agree to everything that is status quo or that seems like the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And we got this with a lot of decisions we had to make with the last big thing that happened. And I'm going to stop using the words just so that my video doesn't get banned. And there was pressure. There was family pressure. There was friend pressure. There was social pressure. If you don't do this, then you can't go here. Do this, do that. You're responsible, irresponsible. It was just like, oh my goodness. So there's so much happening right now with this push for us to go back to our own soul's sovereignty, to tap into our own inner wisdom, awaken that to another level. So I'm sure if you're watching this, you're already awake, but it's another level. And I mean that not from hierarchy. I mean that from expansion. I mean like expanding. And the only way we do that is when we let go of the confines of these thoughts. And the thoughts hold a vibration, and the vibration holds us in a time-space reality that is heavy oftentimes. Because when we go into like the more expanded states, we feel blissful, we feel lighter, we feel less attached to the thoughts that are circling in our mind. I feel like I'm digressing maybe a little bit, but it has to do with the movie The Matrix, and it is so spot on. If you haven't watched it for a long time, I haven't watched it for a long time, so I'm not familiar with every single scene and all this stuff, but it's always about you are the one, right? Neo is trying to figure out if he's the one. And it is coming back to you are the one, I am the one. When you get to that place where you are just connected, and you realize that you are the creator of your reality, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, then we can start shifting. And it's a process. It doesn't happen for most people overnight. Buddha sat under a tree, Jesus sat in the desert for 40 days, whatever the stories are, there are people who have done it in maybe a little bit more significant time frame, but I don't think that it's about that. It's not about those stories. It's not about the number of days. It's about doing the work, and each person's journey is so unique and so different. So feel into what energy works for you, what tools, tips, modalities. There's a great awakening and healing handbook on bethbell.me. It's got a lot of juicy stuff in there that I think you would find. I like to have people go and feel into what works for them, as opposed to say, oh, everybody should do this. No, it just doesn't work like that. That's the beauty of it, is that it doesn't work like that. Okay. Let's keep going. If there's any more questions live, I would love to hear them. I'm currently looking for a new position, and I feel I don't want to get back into corporate America, but I'm not quite sure what else I can do that will sustain me financially. What do you recommend to shake and shift this perception? How should I prepare myself for a transition into non-corporate position or for getting back into corporate? I think this is a really complex question answer because it's very specific to where you are with your belief system around money, and it's very specific to your attachment of happiness to spending. So a lot of, I'm just, forgive me if this is a triggering word or topic, but I mean it in the broadest sense. If you're identifying with hippie, a lot of times being hippie means that you're like, yeah, I don't really care about all this materialistic stuff that's happening out there. And people oftentimes take on a like, yeah, I don't need to make money. I don't need to do these things. And I think we're in a real different space now where, yeah, there's still a lot of people who are more in that hippie category of like, yeah, I'm just going to give all of that stuff up. But I think we're transitioning into a space where a lot more people still want to have the luxuries, but they also want to be awakened in their state. And they want to be able to balance both worlds. And I think absolutely that is where we should be, is balancing in both states, because the dark has no problem making money because they have no fear, they have no attachment, they have no wounds around, what money means. And so it's about where you're at and your ability to detach from happiness associated specific to money, whether it's spending money or making money. But it doesn't mean that you can't be happy doing it. So it's a deep, deep inner reflection question. If you make a huge drastic change from making a lot of money in a corporate job and you go to making no money and you have no savings, let's just say hypothetically, then it's going to be a very challenging task, most likely, to shift all of your belief systems and all of your habits and all of your I'm going to say attachments, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but whatever. Maybe you use a certain face cream, or you like a certain brand of something, and all of that costs money. So if you make a dramatic switch, that can be sometimes really, really challenging. If you make more of a in-between switch, which means maybe you opt for a consulting role that gives you part-time in that world so that you're still bringing in significant money, and then you're doing your other stuff the other time. That balance can create a lot more ease and grace as opposed to going cold turkey one way or the other. Once we get out of the 3D system of making money, and I can speak to this because it's something that I've done myself for the last 10 years. Once we get out of the security of that, especially the golden handcuffs. So if you're someone coming from a corporate world where, the golden handcuffs, meaning like you have all the benefits, whether it's health benefits, bonuses, pension plans, like all the things that bring you the security, the weekly, the monthly paycheck that pays all your bills. That's a really tough system to just step out of, because just like the starving artist idea, there's a projection from society. Oftentimes, like, it can be someone's parents and say, oh my God, don't step out of that. We don't know what's going to happen. Right. And we get taught to do what there's demonstrable history for. And when we start moving out of that paradigm, but we have to have an unequivocal belief system and use our imagination and knowingness that we can, without a doubt, receive what it is that we're intending. It will come. It will come. And it's all the snags. I've been through so many snags in my belief systems, so many ideas around money and how I should make money and how I should receive money and give money and spend money. And it's it's exhausting. It doesn't have to be. I just happen to want to take the long road home. So if you're ready for that journey, then make the full plunge and jump straight out and go right to, exactly what you think you want to do. But just know that there's going to be a lot of programs you still have to break through. You still have to jump through. Okay, I know we're probably coming down to the hour. I've got several more questions. I think we're going to have to go into next week with the rest of the questions. And yes, because I want to read the last. I told you I would share with you the cards. So if you're just joining me, I pulled 2 cards on my birthday, but for all of us as to what is the message. And 2 cards popped out and I had to use Tomosis from the floor to grab them. So the first card that comes is called Earthed, learning how to be human in the world, but not of it. Ooh. Okay, so all of you awakening souls out there, it's actually exactly what I was talking about, really, when it came to, specifically around money, but learning how to be human in the world, but not of it. Okay. Ooh, and the next one is loosen your grip. Coping mechanisms, density, addiction. Hold on. Let God in. Of course it says that, right? Of course. So loosen your grip, everybody. That's the deal. Loosen it, because the time is coming for us to be in complete flow. Grace and ease and abundance is our birthright. The sooner we can, it doesn't have to be about time, but the sooner we can really jump through and experience that feeling innately within us without all of the reflections from the external world telling us, no, that's ridiculous. You can't believe that. You can't do that. The sooner we'll be flying high in our purpose and our soul's plan. We're already there. It's just from the card. Loosen your grip, loosen control, let the mind go. Okay, I think we are down to the wire, and I'm just looking to see if there's any other last minute. Please, next week, 11/11 Sundays, submit your questions, bethbell.me/question. There's so many resources over there. There is the Awakening and Healing Handbook. We've got the Psychedelic Resource Guide. So if you're considering any spiritual medicines, it's a great guide to have. There's so much jam-packed information in there. There's also the Herpes Handbook. So if you don't have herpes, you may know someone who does. And it's a great guide to really get through the viruses of the mind that we just do not need to be experiencing, the judgments around all of these viruses, and so much more. The most important thing that comes to mind to share is, what is your state of the heart? Where is your heart? Because that's where we need to be, not in the mind, but in the heart. So if you go to bethbell.me, you can get a free state of the heart assessment. I think it's about 21 questions, and they're very specific, and we'll send you results based on your responses, which state of the heart you are in. And there's some tips, tools, techniques that come as a result of that as well. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper on your journey, like if all of this is resonating and yet you're like, I want to have more interaction, I want to have more deeper discussion, apply for the Awaken Inner Wisdom membership. It's not for everybody, but it's certainly for people who want to go deeper in the journey. It looks like I froze. I don't know if I did, but the Awaken Inner Wisdom membership is a great place to come to every week. We'll be launching soon. Please go to bethbell.me and you can apply there for the Awaken Inner Wisdom membership. Okay, I think I've frozen. It must be the universe telling me that it's time. I'm not sure. Thank you so much for joining this week. Until next week, wishing you nothing but bliss and love. Namaste. I don't know if you're still with me live and it's just frozen on my end. We get a little extra time together. I'm not sure. It's my first time using StreamYard live on all my channels. So who knows? Who knows what I've got going on here? But I love that we got to spend this time together. I love that you're here with me on my birthday. I love having all of you listen in, whether it's live or on replay. And I can't wait to see you again next week.